how to deal with debt collectors without getting stressed. That's the big question today, so let's find out the answer. I'm Scott from Money Nerd, and I've had a history of debt, and I've had a history of getting out of debt. And through this journey, and through speaking to my hundreds of thousands of readers on moneynerd.co.uk, I've realised how stressful debt collection is, or how stressful debt collection can be on individuals. So this video, I'm going to look at various different methods and techniques on how you can relieve that stress. So there's 3 points. Number one is get all of the information. Number two is suggest a repayment plan. Number three is seek support. And I've got a bonus for you, some magic words that you can say at the end that will make your life so much easier. So, number one, getting the information. So, the information that you need to get, you can get from debt collectors. And get it from debt collectors, you can either give them a call, but what I would advise you do is write them a letter. Now, the reason I say that is letters are legal correspondence, and whilst many debt collectors record their phone calls, you don't have access to that call recording. So you want a written record of everything that you send and receive from a debt collector. That's why I suggest doing this in a letter. So the pieces of information that you need to find out are, first off, are they a scam? So this is a really easy check. You go to the FCA register. So we'll put a link in the description below where you can search for the company name. So whether it be Lau Group or Cabot or Moorcroft or Moorgate, you know, all of those debt collectors, you put in that company name and they should come up on that FCA register. And that's how you tell that they're a legitimate company, they're registered and authorised by the required regulatory bodies in order to carry out debt collection. If they're not, report them to the Financial Ombudsman Service and report them to the FCA. That way you can get them shut down and they won't be stressing other people. And then finally, well, not finally, but what I would like you to do is for the debt collector that you're dealing with at this time, mention them in the comments below, name and shame them, maybe tell a bit about your story. Maybe if you've got any questions, as always, leave it in the comments and we'll get back to you. So, the questions we want to ask debt collectors is, do you actually owe the money? So you want to ask for proof of that debt, whether that be the credit agreement that you originally signed on when you took out a loan or a credit card, or any other written agreement that shows that you actually owe that money. And then you want to find out the actual amount that you owe. So there's two amounts here that you want. One is the original amount that you owe, and if a debt collector's taken it on, they've likely added interest and fees. So you want to get that total amount as well that you owe. And then finally, who do you actually owe as well? So this should come on the proof as well. So if you've taken out a loan and you've fallen into arrears and then you've defaulted on that loan, very often creditors, the loan provider, will pass that on to debt collectors, and they'll either pass it on and say, hey debt collector, can you please go and collect this debt for me? Or they'll pass it on and say, buy this debt from me. Now, if they've sold the debt, you actually owe the debt collector now, not the original creditor. Where in the prior example, if they've just enlisted a debt collector to collect that money on behalf of the creditor, you still owe the creditor. So you can get all of this information by sending a simple letter. We call it the Prove It letter. We've got a link on our website. We'll put a link in the description below. It'll probably take you half an hour tops. You can print it, you can print out the template, fill in the template and send it off, and jobs are good. So the key takeaway here is to get all of that information before you acknowledge that you actually owe the debt. So let's move on. And before we do, I'd very much appreciate a like. If you would like to see more of these videos, also consider subscribing. Okay, so number 2 is suggesting a repayment plan. Now, what you might not know is you don't actually have to pay back exactly what the debt collector is asking. They might be asking, you know, £200, £300, £400 a month. That might be totally outside of your capability. So what the debt collectors must do is consider your level of disposable income. And disposable income is the difference between your income and your expenses. Now, some people earn a lot and spend a lot and have a lot of expenses, and they can't afford to repay anything. Most of us earn a little bit and have a little bit of expenses and have a little bit that they could save on a monthly basis. Now, by discussing your situation with the debt collectors, they'll probably go through that income and expense report with you, and what you can work out then is exactly what your disposable income is and the amount that you can afford. Now, if you don't want to do that on the phone, there's plenty of other templates and guides online. Just type in disposable income calculator. But what that allows you to do then is gives you an amount of what you can afford, and then you can propose an amount. And the beauty of this is that very often if you propose a lower amount, the debt collector is just happy to get something. So they'll very often accept that lower amount, and you can then have, you know, a bit more money to enjoy life. So if we look at section 7.3.8 of the FCA Consumer Handbook, it says that firms must allow for alternative affordable payment amounts to repay the debt in full where the customer is in default or arrears difficulties. And this is the important bit, and the customer makes a reasonable proposal for repaying the debt. So what that means is if your proposal for that lower repayment amount is reasonable, then they have to consider that and more than likely accept it. So the key takeaway here is to assess your financial situation and propose an alternative repayment plan to the creditor. Okay, so let's move on. Now finally, I would encourage you, if you are in financial difficulty, if you are stressed with debt collectors chasing you, there's a number of fantastic organisations out there that will give you free, impartial advice. So the two that I always recommend, and you'll find these in the footer of every page on moneynerd.co.uk, is Step Change and Citizens Advice. They both do slightly different things, but I encourage you to check out their websites, see what they're all about, but they can really be a lifeline for you, someone to talk to, someone to bounce ideas off, someone to investigate the different debt solutions that might be available to you. And I did say that there's a bonus, you can see it sneaking up there. So the bonus is exactly what to say when you speak to debt collectors. Now, I've put together a bunch of scripts, and that's scripts for whether you're speaking to them on the phone or whether you're doing templates, so letter templates. And what this does is it tells you exactly what to say at every point, every interaction in interacting with a debt collector. Now, this is super important because, as I've described in previous videos, debt collectors will often try and trip you up, try and confuse you, try and pressure you into making payments that maybe you can't afford or that isn't your conscious choice. So by following these scripts, you will ensure that you get what you want, not what they want. So I've put a link in the description below if you want to check that out. I highly suggest you do. And then finally, subscribe. We do loads of videos like this. I'm sure you found this video helpful. You'll definitely find our next video helpful. I'm super excited about the next one. So please subscribe. If you've got value from this, please hit the like button. And if you've got any questions, leave a comment below. That's all from me, and have a great day.